This conference will now be recorded.
Am I audible to everyone? వినిపిస్తుందా?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is a revision class. If you remember, this class has been done in September 29, I guess. In the end of the September, we discussed hydrotiform mole previously. So this is a revision class. So the same PPT will be repeated. So the typical hydatiform mole is a voluminous mass of swollen, sometimes cystically dilated chorionic villi, which are grossly appearing as grape-like structures, and varying amounts of normal to highly atypical chorionic epithelium covers these swollen villi. There are two distinctive subtypes of hydatiform mole. They are complete mole and partial mole. So both these types result from abnormal fertilization with an excess of paternal genetic material. In a complete mole, the entire genetic component is supplied by two spermatozoa or a single diploid sperm, yielding diploid cells containing only paternal chromosomes. So when two spermatozoa and two haploid spermatozoa, that is a 23X or 23Y, or a diploid sperm, so both of which contains 0 maternal chromosomes, so that is a complete mole. In a partial mole, a normal egg is fertilized by two spermatozoa or a diploid sperm, resulting in a triploid karyotype with a predominance of paternal chromosomes. So the differences between complete mole and partial mole. So the karyotype of complete mole is either 46XX or 46XY. In partial mole, it is triploid, which is 66, 69, XXY. And all the villi show edema in complete mole. In partial mole, only some villi show edema. And the trophoblastic proliferation is diffuse and circumferential in complete mole. The trophoblastic proliferation is focal and slight in partial mole. Serum HCG is elevated in complete mole. It is less elevated, even though it is elevated, it is less elevated when compared to complete mole in partial mole. So coming to tissue HCG, it is much more elevated in complete mole and slightly elevated in partial mole. And the risk of subsequent chorionic carcinoma, and that means that the development of further malignancy, the further progression into malignancy is 2% in a complete mole, and it is rare in a partial mole. So coming to the etiology, the incidence is much higher in Asian countries. Moles are most common if the gestational age is before 20 and is after 40 years. History of the condition increases if any previous history of molar pregnancy, there is increased risk of molar disease in subsequent pregnancies. During investigation for a gestation, that is too large for dates. For example, when we do abdominal examination, the uterus doesn't correlate with the gestational age. It will be much more higher for the gestational age. In both complete and partial moles, elevation of HCG in the maternal blood and absence of fetal heart sounds are typical. In advanced cases, the uterine cavity is expanded by a delicate, friable mass of thin wall, translucent, cystic-like structure, which are grape-like vesicles. The fetal parts are rarely seen in complete moles, but are common in partial mole. Why the name itself is partial mole? Because it contains few of the fetal parts and some of the grape-like vesicles on gross. But in complete mole, the entire gross is of fully filled with grape-like vesicles. You can't even find any fetal parts. So on microscopic examination, the complete mole show hydrophic swelling of poorly vascularized chorionic villi with a loose myxomatous edematous stroma. The chorionic epithelium typically shows a proliferation of both cytotrophoblasts and syncytial trophoblasts. Histological grading to predict the clinical outcomes of moles has been supplanted by monitoring of HCG levels. That is, the grading, the histological grading should be correlated with the HCG levels. Should be correlated with the HCG levels for grading, which is very essential for the clinical outcome, nothing but the prognosis and the prediction of further risk and the prediction of progression into malignancy. In partial moles, villous edema involves only a subset of the villi and the trophoblastic proliferation is local and slight. In most cases of the partial mole, some fetal cells are present, ranging from fetal red cells in placental villi to, in rare cases, a fully formed vesicles, a fully formed fetus with an attached, and normal fetus ki, there could be an attached focal subset of villi proliferation. So apart from these two entities, there is another entity called invasive mole, which is a subset of complete mole. So invasive mole is not a separate one. It's a subset of complete mole. So what is an invasive mole? Invasive moles are complete moles that are locally invasive but lack metastatic potential of chorionic carcinoma. So these will infiltrate the underlying uterine layers. An invasive mole retains hydrophic villi which penetrate the uterine wall very deeply, possibly causing rupture and sometimes life-threatening hemorrhage. On microscopic examination, the epithelium of the villi show atypical changes with proliferation of both trophoblastic and syncytiotrophoblastic components. So, how do you differentiate an invasive mole from a chorionic carcinoma? In invasive mole, there is atypia. In chorionic carcinoma, as it is malignancy, you can also expect atypia. So, what are the differences? Despite the marked invasiveness, the lesions metastasis do not occur. In chorionic carcinoma, there will be mets. See, when do you tell a tissue is, a cancer is metastasized? It embolizes from the parent cell and it separates from the parent cell and embolizes into a new area and start proliferation over there. So that is a metastasis, which is not seen in invasive mole. Despite of the marked invasiveness of this invasive mole, metastasis do not occur. Hydrophic villi may embolize to distant organs such as lungs or brain, but these do not emboli behave like a true mets. That means they do not proliferate and may regress spontaneously. So that's how it won't behave like a carcinoma. Because of the deeper invasions into the myometrium, an invasive mole is difficult to remove completely by curettage. So even after the we will do it DNC, we will remove it. Even after the curettage, if the serum beta HCG levels remain elevated, the further treatment is required, which is by chemotherapy. In most cases, the cure is possible with chemotherapy. So this is the gross specimen which we have in our department. This is a complete mole. See, there is no fetal parts. The complete specimen show these grape-like vesicles, nothing but the hypertrophic villi, swollen villi. So this is a complete mole. This is also a complete mole. All these white ones are hypertrophic villi. So this is the micrograph of molar pregnancy. The upper one is there, no? That is the proliferation of the villus component. So this picture is from Hashmohan itself. So this is the hydropic villus cord. This pale eosinophilic one. These multinucleate cells are the syncytial trophoblasts, and the single cells are trophoblasts. So there is proliferation of the syncytial trophoblast and cytotrophoblast. So you can see that there is trophoblastic proliferation. So coming to the microscopy, the characteristic features are described as under, that is the absence of identifiable villi, that is the absence of normal villi. Masses and columns of highly anaplastic and bizarre cytotrophoblast and syncytial trophoblast cells which are intermixed. And invariable presence of hemorrhage and necrosis. It might be present or absent. Not all cases of molar pregnancy have hemorrhages and necrosis. Invasion of the underlying myometrium and other structures, blood vessels and lymphatics, which is seen in invasive mole, which is a subset of complete mole. Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.